Welcome to Ion Franchising, where you will learn the A to Z's of franchising. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. I'm your host, Lance Graulich. So today's special guest, we've all heard the story, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Well, in the world of franchising, it's pretty true to life that franchises, originate due to a need. And today, we are going to meet, pun intended, an amazing founder and hear his story. 27-year plus, 25, 26, 27-year veteran in the restaurant industry. He launched the brand in 2013. He's in sunny Florida, the Sunshine State, and he's got 3 locations now. We're going to hear it all. Welcome, Greg Snyder, the founder of Southern Steer Butcher.
Thank you, Lance. Appreciate you having me on the show today.
Greg, it's fantastic to have you, and I can't wait for everybody to hear your story here. So let's start off with that. Give us your story. How did Southern Steer Butcher and Southern Steer Butchering franchise come about?
Well, the original concept came about when a couple gentlemen who I knew in the Tampa Bay area had mentioned this concept and a similar concepts that they grew up shopping at as kids in the Northeast outside of Boston. They grew up in New Hampshire, and this mom and pop style butcher shop existed in smaller communities that couldn't grill nearly as often as we could in Florida. Their specialty was marinated meats and high-end meats, chicken and pork that grocery stores weren't providing. I took a visit up there and looked around at the different concepts and said to myself, well, if there's not that many people living here and these concepts are thriving in this environment, what could it do in a great demographic with a lot of traffic and a 12-month grilling season? So I left a pretty decent job and took a shot at entrepreneurship and opened up the first Southern Steer in 2013.
I love it. I love it. I just know my personal habits. We grill all throughout the year. Now I'm in Vegas, and Vegas is still pretty warm throughout the year, but I'm grilling inside these days. And with the invention of things like air fryers, it's pretty amazing how many of my friends are kind of grilling or using that air fryer all year round in the house,
Yes. It's a favorite tool of mine as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you, I could do some good things with the steak inside. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to why you started with, the original vision, I always love to ask the original vision. Obviously, there's a need. It's not exactly a lot of authentic, the original or OG type butchers out there. So what is it that you guys do that people are not really getting in a grocery store, wherever they're buying their meats?
Well, I think one of the things that we offer is convenience. The marinated products that we sell, which go through a process in a vacuum tumbler, they're ready to go. You buy them from us and you go throw them on the grill or bake them in the oven, whatever you want to do with this. So it's a convenience setup. The value component's there because we're as competitive with our pricing as grocery stores are. And then, we provide a line of beef, pork, and chicken mainly that we know exactly where it comes from. And we can answer those questions and tell you all about the sourceability and the treatment of the animals. You walk into a big box grocer and anyone that works there doesn't want to look at you. So it's a different look from us because we have employees that want to engage with you and give you a shopping experience that you'll remember versus just walking into another insert big box grocery store name here.
Greg, you just hit on something huge. In franchising in general, because that's been my industry for 30 plus years, customer service seems to be the hallmark of any fantastic franchise. And I know that when my wife and I go to the grocery store, and there's a few near us, we're between 2 major grocery stores, the service sucks. And we know we want to go to the deli. Maybe we want some boar's head turkey, or we want to get some good steaks, some good, choice steaks. And we don't see what we want pre-cut out, out there. That's convenient, grab and go sort of stuff. It's not there. And then there's a line, or People are working inefficiently. So, boy, you hit something. I grew up in New York, and I remember the corner market that had an amazing butcher. And even my grandfather had, supermarkets that felt like little tiny, little butcher shops, and you had the service. Remember in the old days, you'd know the butcher.
Yes.
Was it Brady Bunch? Sam
the Butcher. Yes. Alice's boyfriend.
Alice's boyfriend. So really, that's what this is.
It is. And I like, my background in the restaurant business before I got into management was in bartending. And essentially what we're doing there is we're bartending with meat. It's a 10-minute experience. You're in, you're out, you're making rapport, you're showing the guests a good time when they're in the building. And then when they leave, they feel good about their experience. And then they feel great about the product because we have something you cannot get anywhere else.
I love it. I love it. So that's part of the value. Like you said, there's an experience where from what I described, there's virtually no experience ever. So that is fantastic. So let's now dive into franchising. What have you learned over the years in the restaurant business? Why franchising for you? And start with what your experience overall is knowing about franchising in general. And then why was franchising perfect for Southern Steer Butcher?
I think the two main reasons that it's perfect for Southern Steer is it gives an entrepreneur the template of something successful just to follow and to be able to be hands-on with their business, or it allows somebody that wants to do multi-unit to train people to follow the model of what we do to run the business on a day-to-day basis, to run each of those locations for them, and maybe tie them into the profitability of it as well, so that they can share in the success of it. I think those are the two main reasons.
Yeah. So who are you looking for? I mean, this is always my favorite question, and usually the answer is pretty broad, but who is it in a perfect world, as far as as of today, with 3 locations, 2 of them so far franchised? Who are you looking for? Who do you think you're looking for at this point? It might change.
I think somebody that understands the importance of hospitality through the food service industry is a prime candidate. And I might be a little biased on my part because that's where I come from. But I do know the model is appealing to a lot of people in that industry. One, because it continues to have food service and it has the customer interaction that somebody from that industry enjoys. But the big thing it adds on to that is we're closing at 7. You're not in the restaurant till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night anymore. You're home and you're having dinner.
Yeah. So remind me the hours of the 3 locations. I know they might vary. So exactly, roughly, what are they? 7 days a week, right?
10 to 7 Monday to Saturday and 10 to 5 on Sunday.
Nice. Nice hours.
Yeah, they're great.
Nothing late at all.
No. The only thing we do in a later capacity are our food prep classes, and those are usually 3 or 4 of them a month, like 7 to 9. So that'd be the latest you get out a couple times a month.
And tell me what you're teaching people in the food prep classes.
They come in and they assemble meals that they can take home, and they get packed into Ziploc freezer bags with the instructions on how to cook them, and then they can pull them out of their freezer as they want, dump them in a crock pot, turn them on low, and a few hours later they have dinner.
I love it. So you're showing them how to prep their own meals, and they get to make the mess in your place. And
yes.
That's perfect.
We do all the cutting and portioning for them. All they got to do is measure stuff into the bag with measuring cups, finish the meals.
I love it. Fantastic. So let's talk about the investment. What is a typical investment? What is the typical square footage of a Southern Steer butcher shop?
Well, the FTD that we have is ranging anywhere from about 350 to 700 for the typical investment. Square footage, I think the sweet spot's right around 2,000 square feet.
And typically, what are you looking for? I would imagine a butcher shop, you're looking for action. Does that mean you need to be near a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts or a lot of In-N-Out?
I think a thick commerce area is going to best suit one of our locations, and a high traffic highway maybe that it's right off of. Clearwater is in a plaza with a Home Depot and a Staples and a Joann Fabrics, which draws in hundreds of thousands of cars a day. Sarasota is right off one of the main arteries off of I-75. It's 3 lanes in each direction. Smaller strip mall, ingress and egress is super easy. And then Orlando's off of a major highway, Highway 50, on the west side of Orlando. So, and they're all, Orlando's off to a great start, and both the other 2 locations do extremely well. So there's a couple of different avenues you could go. And then Jacksonville, which is, they found their location. It's going to be our first freestanding location.
Oh, love it.
Busy highway. So that's going to be a nice new test to see what's the appeal of that.
And how big is that freestanding store?
2275.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Congratulations on Jacksonville.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how did you find those franchisees so far?
Well, the Sarasota store, they were already running the store for myself and a partner, and we sold that store to them and converted that to a franchisee. He came from Bloomin' Brands, was an employee with Outback for years. Steve, who is the franchisee in Orlando, he and his brother were customers of our Sarasota store, and he liked the concept so much. He was like, I want to put one in Orlando. He had just sold a business, had a little bit of a nest egg to sit on, but he was antsy and he wanted to do something. He liked the idea, he liked the concept, so he jumped in. And then Jacksonville was a longtime friend of mine. I've known him since we actually worked at the Outback Steakhouse in Gainesville together in 91, 92, 93. And he reached out to me out of the blue and said, hey, your concept's franchising, I'm interested. So one thing led to the other, and they signed their franchise agreement in November, and they've picked out their site, and off we go.
Southern Steer Butcher Shop, Bloomin' due to Bloomin' Brands. And,
Yeah,
there's nothing better, Greg, there's nothing better than when customers become franchisees as well, which I've seen evolve in my 30 years. I always tell people, once you hit a new area, your customers get to start telling people how amazing you are. They're going to have the experience, they're going to see the value, they're going to understand it and get it, and they'll tell friends. And then chances are friends in another city will contact you and say, hey, I need this, by me. And that's how franchising works so well.
Yes.
So let's just briefly, I always ask these questions like, can you make money with a franchise? Well, obviously you can. So if I was going to interview your first couple of franchisees, we call that in the franchise world, we call that validation.
Yeah.
And what is it that they would say? I mean, they're obviously happy. Are they looking to do a second store? I know that's the goal with you in the long run. You're looking for single unit operators, you're looking for multi-unit operators.
I think our Sarasota franchisees, they like the lifestyle they get out of the one location. It supports, their whole family on its own, comfortably, and they enjoy that. And I think the freedoms of one location and the ease of accountability that they have with the manager they have in place for them, I think it's perfect for them to do the one. Our franchisee in Orlando, I think he's got a bigger vision in mind, and I think he's the type of person that will find different operators to run the store successfully for him as he opens a second, a third, and a fourth.
The empire builder.
Yeah, I think that's more his forte. I think Jacksonville, once he's comfortable with how his store's running, he has the vision of doing another one within 18 months. And we've got a couple of other people in the pipeline that have been multi-unit restaurant operators, that don't want to do the 10, 11 o'clock at night anymore. They want to be home at night, and, they're at the end of their career in the restaurant business, looking for another option. And these multi-unit guys, that's what they're used to doing. So I think once they have one running well, they're going to get antsy and want to do the next one.
Yeah, no, I love it. So how difficult, let's talk about training. How difficult is it these days? A lot of people talking about labor shortages and what have you. So you have a unique business. And so let's talk about the training. How do you train the franchisees? How are you training the staff? Talk about, labor in general.
Right. I think the first step with a franchisee is to get them understand how to be a great hourly employee. When they know that role, then they can teach that role well, so that the people they hire can do that role well for them, following, the training schematics we have in place. As a guy that comes from corporate restaurants, we put together, training packages to properly train an hourly employee so they know how to do their job clearly and do it well, and what a good job is, from our point of view. Once that franchisee knows the hourly role, then we get them introduced to what the management functions are within the business. And coming from a corporate restaurant background, I pretty much took everything I learned from those matrix and created formulas and templates and spreadsheets to just follow along on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So that at the end of each month, you set yourself up for a profitable store. And,
Perfect.
we teach them that after they understand what the concept is of being a great hourly employee.
Yeah. Yeah. Training is so important, and having the
It is.
appropriate procedures and everything
Mhm.
laid out. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure way back when, in 9 years ago, when you first launched, there were mistakes. There has to be mistakes. There were things you did.
Perfect.
You're shaking your head like, I don't ever want to give me one of those mistakes. I got to hear it.
Fresh
You bought a whole
seafood.
cow when you shouldn't have.
No, actually, it was fresh seafood. And this is actually, it goes to one of our company principles of innovation. We had a case that we had seafood in, and in the beginning, we weren't doing the volume to turn the seafood over fast enough. So a lot of it was hitting the garbage. One of my employees at the time said, "Hey, let me take over that case. I got an idea." So he put 2 types of sausage out, and they sold out within a couple of days. So then he put a third, and then he put a fourth. And the next thing you know, that whole thing became our homemade sausage case. He now has a company that he started as a side gig that sells some of the marinades that we use for our vacuum tumbler, not only in bulk, but also in retail. But he also packages all of our sausage seasonings that he sells to the stores as well. And what was a mistake with seafood at first turned into a positive with this gentleman who's now got a side business. It's just going to grow with the brand. So yeah, seafood was our biggest mistake at first. I would probably say in the first month, we probably threw away about $800 to $1,000 worth of fresh seafood.
Oh, geez. Well,
I was a slow learner. It should have only been a couple $100, but
yeah, well, but you want to make sure, you want to cross it off the list to make sure
Right.
it really didn't work.
Not doing that again.
So
And a lot of franchisees have asked me, should we do seafood? I'm like, I'll let you try it. Go for it. Here's what happened to us. Okay.
yeah. Well, and obviously it's got to be kept separately to some degree.
Mhm.
It can smell funny even when it's fresh.
Yes.
Let's go through, you mentioned earlier, beef, chicken, and pork, right?
Mhm.
That's it. So we're talking virtually every cut of steak, everything. You already mentioned the sausage and pork loin and, just pork butt, whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
And you guys will trim. So if I want that pork butt for my air fryer and I know the dimensions, you'll get it there for me, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I can cut it
Custom
myself.
cut to order.
It's always a mess cutting that stuff at home. You know
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We do that before you get it ready. So all you gotta do is throw it in the air fryer when you get home.
Perfect. So let's talk about territory. So you're in Florida now. Jacksonville's coming next. So you're heading up north. In a perfect world, how do you intend to grow? If somebody calls you from, Vegas, where I am, and I find you somebody, I mean, you're looking to come to Vegas, so you're looking to stay pretty strict on your geographic integrity, as I call it?
Yeah. I'd like us to stay within a couple of 4-hour drive of where I am right now for the first probably 2 to 3 years, just so all the kinks that get ironed out and opening one of those locations can be handled correctly. And with me in the capacity that I am now to help.
Yeah.
That's not to say that if, the right candidate with the right background after being vetted properly couldn't do this in another state and with the vision of multi-unit out of the gate. But I do think it has to be the right candidate. Don't think I would want somebody not in food service to take this venture on outside of the state initially.
So without giving away any secrets, one of the things I certainly know, being, with my food experience, is purchasing is a big deal. I would imagine you might have changed vendors here and there until you got to the system that you have now. And clearly your vendors are pretty darn happy with you, because I'm sure you got a hell of a volume with those first 3 locations. Is it the exact same vendors that you're using? I'm sure it's the same product, but is it the exact same vendors you're able to use in all 3 locations?
For the most part, I'd say about 80% of it's the same vendors. Regionally, different distributors handle, the same nationally distributed product. Orlando has a different distributor for beer than Clearwater does. But they kind of hold the same products, like as their baseline, like Budweiser products, and then all the micros they carry.
Right.
But like our main meat supplier is based out of St. Petersburg. It's independently owned by a couple of brothers, and I've been working with them for about 8.5 years now, about 6 months after we opened Clearwater. And I actually called him last week and said, hey, Jacksonville just signed. Do you guys want to drive all the way to Jacksonville? Because he knows there's another supplier I can use that does the same product. And he goes, we'll do Jacksonville. I said, okay. I said, so that could mean a second Orlando store at some point. I'm like, it's a big loop. He's like, I just send them out Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. They'll get there at 10 o'clock, deliver, and come back down to Orlando. And I said, if you got the plan, I'll stick with you. Let's keep going.
And how often do the stores get deliveries?
I mean, you can get them Monday through Saturday with any of our suppliers. Pretty much, some are just Monday through Friday, but like Clearwater, because our vendors are so close, they can do 3-4 days a week with the meat suppliers. As we get further out from their warehouse, it's probably going to be weekly or maybe eventually bi-weekly, as long as the order justifies the truck.
Got it. So to sum up on the territories, ideally you want to be within a 4-hour drive or so at this point. However, if somebody pops up that has the experience that is several states away and wants to do a multi-unit deal, it is possible with your vendors to be able to make that leap sooner rather than later.
Absolutely, because most of our meat suppliers are nationally distributed through local channels. So those same suppliers, we just go to them and say, hey, we've been using you guys with this vendor for years. Who do you have in Charlotte? Or who do you have in Houston or wherever? But they can get it to them on a regional level.
I still remember me being a Wingstop franchisee. I was president of the Franchise Advisory Council. And I remember when we first did Idaho, and the head of purchasing was working on setting up purchasing for Idaho and had the wings handled. But then all of a sudden, the packaging issues, the logoed packaging was tricky. It's like, how are we going to get it there? So in franchising, that's the beauty of being a franchisee. Corporate needs to figure this out, right?
Yes.
You're corporate, Greg. Congratulations.
I've learned that.
So let's talk a little bit more as you're expanding. Well, we already talked about training. We talked about a little bit about procedures and systems. Let's talk about Project 52. We didn't talk about that yet. I didn't even know about that. When I was reviewing your website before the podcast, well, yesterday to be exact, I was like, wow, what is this? I didn't even know about this. Greg doesn't even talk about this so much. So tell me about Project 52.
Well, it was born off of an idea of my partner from the Sarasota store. He's been pretty successful in business and said, we've got to come up with a way to, provide for the community. He said, this channel is something that, this store could do here and can grow with you as you go. We wanted to come up with some type of concept that helped the community at large in whatever way, shape, or form we could. So we first thing we did is we helped out a local family in Sarasota and gave them a pack of meals for a father, because the father was fighting pancreatic cancer, which we all know what typically happens there. But we gave them a pack of meals and we posted it on our Facebook page and launched Project 52 Facebook page, being 52 weeks in a year. So let's help somebody or something each week. And we posted it, and within, I want to say 2-3 hours, I had 4 or 5 other messages saying, hey, would you be able to help this family? Would you be able to this family? And it was like, wow, the community needs our help. So we just started doing these meal packs, and it's kind of grown into a variety of other things that we've done, from fundraisers for give back weekends, for schools, for PTAs, for firefighters that were injured, to donating water to local sports organizations so they can sell the water in their concession stands to raise money. We've taken it in a million different directions, and it was born out of a kind of just the belief that grace and gratitude is what we need to provide in our business to help out the local community.
Right. I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. So, so the plans for that is whoever's the next franchisee, they obviously have to understand that's part of it. it's obviously part of the mission of Southern Steer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
And, we're very lucky that the group in Orlando is fully on board with it. They've done a lot for their community already in the past through other ventures, and continuing on through us is something they're extremely excited to do.
Yeah, I love it. So when it comes to passion in a business like this, because I always thought, just my personal opinion, that while I was always passionate about the hospitality business or the restaurant business, and I'm sure it's the same thing in your world, I've always felt that there were people that were simply just passionate about working for themselves, passionate about setting themselves up for success, financial freedom, etc. So what do you think passion, what kind of role does that play? It's on your website, it's talked about. Where do you think passion, lies in this?
It's definitely a paramount trait that you have to have for yourself in order to be an entrepreneur. You have to believe in the products and the concepts that you're, I guess, promoting and marketing and selling as an entrepreneur and a franchisee. Passion to serve customers has to be there. Passion for hospitality has to be there, and a passion for quality and never compromising it. Those three main components you have to be passionate about to be successful.
Yeah, great, good stuff.
Really, in any industry or anything you do, you have to be passionate about it, whether you're an Olympic skier or a, pro golfer.
Yep. Well, and some people these days I find are passionate about profit, and they could fall into a lot of different businesses. At the end of the day, they have to execute the plan accordingly. Mm-hmm. And the industry sometimes will grow on them. I would imagine there'll be somebody someday that loves your business model, sees the need, and finds somebody from the hospitality business to partner with, and they become mm-hmm. the investor. And that often happens in franchising, but still you have that hospitality person, to your point, with that passion that's going to run the day-to-day.
Yeah, you got to have the passion to create a positive emotion and experience while they shop.
Yeah,
just like you would when they come in and dine at a restaurant. It carries over and it makes them remember their experience and have something to associate it with.
You can't fake that desire to serve people and help people.
No, you can't.
So let's talk about marketing. One of the big subjects that always comes up in franchising. So mm-hmm. when it comes to marketing, when it comes to ramping up a business, a lot of my clientele as a franchise broker ask, well, Lance, how do I make my money back as quick as possible? What are some of those brands out there where I can, really do well right out of the gate? And so let's talk a little bit about, so when you opened maybe Sarasota, or, you're opening Orlando's new, talk about how you assist as the franchisor in ramping up as quickly as possible. What kind of marketing? Are you giving away meat? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, the first thing we try to do is make sure the community understands the business is there for them, not necessarily for profit, and make sure they understand that Project 52 kind of comes with it. We also want to make sure that the franchisee spreads through word of mouth, through all of their networks within their community, that they're the ones that are going to be independently owning and operating this business. So to stretch out to, their friend network and acquaintance and business network, that this is what they're going to be doing. And then, it'll balloon off from there. We also internally, we offer a rewards program for customers so that when they come in, not only do you see the great products that we have, but we also offer a value component that goes with it as part of the rewards program. And then we lay out a 90, 60, and 30-day marketing program that we've put together to help launch the brand and communicate what the brand's about and when to look forward to our opening date once we have that locked down.
I love it. So what did I not cover today that you'd like to cover?
Great question.
We got it all?
I may have. God, I would definitely want to say that if somebody's been in the service industry, the food service industry in any type of capacity, I think as long as they understand the hospitality that you can actually bring into a retail environment to make it impactful for every shopping experience, you're the type of person we want to talk to as a franchisee.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I was thinking of something: passion, purpose, and porterhouse.
They all go together. The three
three
P's of butchering.
The three P's. No, but
and the other thing I'd probably say is if you've never cut meat before, that's okay. We'll train you. I opened up Southern Steer Butcher and I had to hire 3 meat cutters to start because I wasn't that good at it yet.
Well, and we talked a little bit about training earlier. So now I'm really curious. Where are you finding where do you find a meat cutter? You just find somebody that's got good manual dexterity?
Definitely helpful. The craft is not brutally difficult to teach. And one of the things we've been successful at doing in Clearwater is always having 2 or 3 people on that are able to cut meat, and having a couple people on that want to learn. And if they're passionate about learning, you have another meat cutter within 2 to 3 months. So it goes back to passion. It's having somebody that wants to learn the trade. And initially, it's easy to find people who have worked for the big box grocery stores that are done just taking meat out of a box and putting it in a case. They actually want to use their craft they've been taught from prior lives to cut meat.
Yep. I've done it. I was never very good at it, but like you mentioned, playing with silver skin and all those things on tenderloins. But at the end of the day, franchising, you mentioned it before, franchising is really about learning all of the things that you need to know as a franchisee. You don't have to be the best, but there's certainly a technician aspect of it. And you just need to know what to look for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So last question, when it comes to all of the franchise options out there, we talked a little bit about your existing franchisees. Now that you have 3 of them, sum up people listening that might be interested in you and Southern Steer, why Southern Steer Butcher Shop versus all the other 4,500 or so franchises?
Well, I think the first is community presence. That's the first thing we want to make sure we're going to do in any market we go into. Somebody wants to be a part of impacting the community in a positive way. We have everything in place from the site selection, lease negotiation, project management, marketing, training, to make it as turnkey as possible for you, so that you can focus on what you need to do in order to make your business make that impact in the community when you first open the door.
Perfect. I love it.
Thanks.
Final last word for the day.
Southern Steer Butcher is going to become your community household name over the next 5 to 10 years. And we can't wait for you guys to get in here and try it.
I love it. Greg Snyder, thank you so much. Southern Steer.
Thank you, Lance.
Butcher Shop. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks.
Take care. Thank you very much for listening today. Please like, follow, and subscribe. This is Lance Graulich. Until next time.